welcome to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blasdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello everyone, welcome back to Out of the Box Radio. I am your host, Christine Blasdale, and I am very happy that you tuned in today because we have a very special program in mind for you. My guest today is Sonia Barrett, and she is not only the executive producer of the award-winning documentary, The Business of Disease, she's also the author of The Holographic Canvas, The Fusing of Mind and Matter, and her second book is A Journey of Possibilities. She's the publisher of the book. She is also the publisher of the book Health, an Inside Job, an Outside Business. She has been a guest on many radio programs, including Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie, Pacifica Radio as well, and Conscious Media Network, Gaia TV, to name just a few. She is someone that I have known for many years, and I am very excited about having her on today's program because we are going to talk about, Sonia, we're going to talk about a little bit about everything. This is like a smorgasbord of conversation that you're going to have. And in particular, I love the way you look at what is being fed to us. And I mean, like, literally fed to us, our consciousness. On television, in radio, the food we eat, everything that we've been told about who we are as human beings, or these souls in our flesh, so to speak. So welcome, first of all, to Out of the Box Radio, Sonia Barrett.
I am so delighted to be here. Thank you so much, Christine.
Now, one of the the award-winning documentary that you worked on, and I've seen, it's fantastic, The Business of Disease. Let's just jump right into that, because one of probably the most important things in people's lives, as we know, is our health and our wellness, our happiness. And there is an interesting paradigm shift that's happening right now. I think more and more people are starting to move towards alternative ways of healing themselves, but we're still dealing with this mechanism known as modern medicine or the healthcare system. Let's talk a little bit about that, and if you don't mind, talk about your own journey with your own health.
Well, let's see. I am one of those people that decided some time ago, I would say probably from the age of 18, which was just last year. But I decided before things got crazy that I wanted to be responsible for myself, my body, and my mind. There's some things that just didn't add up for me. So let's say I began way back there. And I think that what I find interesting is that we have this idea that looking at what we call alternative medicine, which is really not the alternative, it is the natural way of functioning. People look at it now as something new, like we're doing all this amazing new stuff. Right. It's like, but it's not. These are natural ways of taking care of ourselves, and we have been so programmed to externalize, to look and do everything outside of ourselves. And not only that, but to actually not even feel that we are capable of making choices for ourselves. So we do have to have an assigned doctor, and we have to have an assigned this and an assigned that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have your doctor, but I think we have to come back to that realization that this body belongs to you. Stop renting it out. Stop leasing it out to the system, and feeling that the system has all the answers for you, because the doctor, again, they already tell you we're practicing medicine. So I think for me, it has to be, I'm encouraging an awakening in people to realize that taking care of yourself is really a natural course, and that we shouldn't wait until there are things that appear to be dire, then we go running off to the doctor, or even for just a common cold, they'll go get medication. But to develop a lifestyle that is not just about eating, but the mind, the mental aspect of it, the emotional part of it. And this is the issue with what we call Western medicine, is that it doesn't really examine enough the emotional part of us as human beings. And that's what makes us up. What electrochemical impulses. This is what we do. We feel. We have emotions. This is how we're processing our experience that we call reality. So therefore, that has to be a very important key in terms of what the cells are hearing, what the cells are experiencing, and it's all beginning with the feedback, the information coming from our experiences, our emotional experiences.
Oh, exactly. And you nailed it on the head when you're talking about the emotional connection that we have. If somebody goes in for a heart attack or stroke or high blood pressure, rarely does the doctor say, hey, what's going on in your life right now? Did you ever deal with that childhood trauma that happened to you? What about that heartbreak that you experienced when you lost your child? Could that maybe have something to do with that? But instead it is, and I understand because they're trained in a certain way, that it's medication, or surgery or something like that, where the issue is not ever dealt with, but a pharmaceutical is given usually or prescribed in the hopes that your blood pressure is high, so let us prescribe this drug to you. And if a man or a woman in a white coat with a stethoscope and the diploma on the wall says to you, this is the latest blood pressure medication and it's going to help you, your belief in that person that you give, because you're giving them that faith, your belief in their certification, your belief in their stethoscope, your belief in the pharmaceutical company that reached out to the doctor, your belief in many times will have an effect on your blood pressure. But we're finding out, and this is proven through science, that what you believe many times is more powerful than the actual drug, as indicative with the placebo effect.
Absolutely.
And for listeners who don't know the placebo, if you don't mind, explain a little bit about the placebo effect to people.
Well, the placebo effect is basically that there's really nothing there. Like you think there's really no major compound that's being given to you.
But it's like a sugar pill.
It's a sugar pill. You're getting the idea of something that is going to maybe fix a problem or heal a problem, and it really shows you the power of the mind. Because
it happens. Your blood pressure goes down or whatever is.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think for me, just knowing this, what I would take away, if I were the listener, what I would take away from this is the fact that, wow, so that means that my mind is that pliable, it's that plastic, that I could really change my life in many ways if I truly wanted to, because I'm that, adjustable, that pliable. To me, I think that if nothing else, it shows us what we can do there. And I think we also have to remember that what we deal with is protocols and programming. Those two words, protocols and programming. So what you said a few minutes ago about the doctor and the white coat, and there is a certain psychological thing that happens automatically. The paper on the wall, there is something, and that's just programmed into us from, probably the womb, right? That these people, these credentials guarantee that they're going to know more than I do about my own body. So whatever the doctor says, you become very trusting. And it might not just be the doctors, in different situations of people that we see in a position of power, authority. Right. And so I think is to step back and to really examine that. Well, wait a second. Do they really know more than I probably do about my body. I know what I'm feeling. Would I then take the time out to become a bit more investigative of what's going on with my body? Yes, see the doctor, but at the same time, take the time, invest that kind of time in yourself to become more investigative, looking at even patterns. When do I get this headache? Well, geez, I notice I get this headache when such and such comes by. But it's just paying attention to oneself and really putting yourself in a space of realizing that you really are sensible enough to begin to evaluate your life. And it's like taking blinders off and really looking at your life. Not just what you're eating, but the lifestyle in your home. Are you happy? I say that to people all the time. They go, well, when I'm on radio shows, what should people do? And one of the first things that I suggest is self-honesty. We must be honest with ourselves. And in the Matrix, there's that sign the Oracle had over the door, know thyself. This is why that idea of knowing thyself becomes so important. You have to have self-honesty. What do I mean by self-honesty? Is not just looking at, am I happy, but the choices that I'm making. And this is not about blame. This is about examining truthfully the choices that you make and what are the things that lead you to making those choices. Are there patterns that seem to go on? Do I keep experiencing a particular thing where I keep getting in a relationship with the same kind of person over and over and over? And it might not be a romantic relationship. It could be just any kind of relationship. Some people are like, geez, I always get taken advantage of. Right. But they like to keep saying it. So you keep doing it over and over. So it's all of those things to be able to stop and see and not just put the blame on other people. That's just more externalizing. How do I bring my life back home to myself where I can feel empowered and feel more in control of what my life can become?
Well, and you nailed it on the head there, where when we were talking just about the health, how beliefs, like based on the placebo effect, beliefs can, and it's been proven that beliefs, what you think, your social conditioning, your thoughts can heal, but they can also harm. And I think that when we do, I love your idea too of self-honesty, that and it's very difficult for people to turn that mirror around and look at themselves. And I'm not talking physically to look at yourself, but to look at yourself, how you speak to yourself, those stories that you tell. Are you someone that thinks that the world is out to get you? Are you someone that thinks that if you're in a relationship, they're bound and determined to break your heart? So how do you sabotage your relationships? How do you sabotage your career? Do you tell messages? Do you say to yourself, I'm not worthy of a high-paying job or a rewarding career? I'm not worthy. That seems those words, and that comes from many times. It comes from people in their childhood.
Absolutely, childhood.
What their parents had told them, what they witnessed. I noticed that in a lot of progressive circles, the idea of wealth and prosperity is really frowned upon, right? Money is the root of all evil, and the 1% versus the 99%, and capitalism, and to me, money is just an energy, and we exchange our energy for that energy. We exchange in this culture, right? In this place that we find ourselves, we exchange our life force, hours spent in an office, or your creativity, writing books or songs or whatever. We exchange our energy for this other energy, and we call it money.
It's an exchange, and absolutely.
Right?
And money is a catalyst, and it is a current, which is why they call it currency. As you said, it's energy. But I also like the fact that you use the word stories, because ultimately, in the end, that's what we live. We live a series of stories that we tell ourselves, because we are characters. We play a role, and most people don't realize that. And so your identity becomes so wrapped up in the story and the character that you play that is associated with that story that you've got running, and then the other characters that you bring in to continue to support that same story. So you're constantly, you have this script, and I like to look at it as parts. When somebody comes in, oh, I got a part for you.
Are you playing the bad guy with the mustache? Are you twirling your mustache?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah. I mean, and so is it the same, character over and over? Is it the same feeling that you end up getting over and over? Again, we go back to like that doormat kind of idea where you have a script and you've got this part. Now you get several people to play that role because you've got to be able to validate this idea that you have that you're always taking advantage of.
Because you need to back up that story.
You need to back up.
You want to be right.
That's right. We're ridiculous as human beings.
Aren't we?
Everything is about the payoff, though. Everything that we do is about the payoff. And it's like, what is the payoff of having this experience over and over again? And people get caught in a loop. What is the payoff? Well, you get to sabotage your life in ways that you don't even know. Why you probably don't move forward and get that job, or why your career, when whatever that is, or relationship, is not moving past that certain stage because you're stuck in that story. And until we can wake up and see that story and the characters that we keep bringing in, we can't decide to eliminate that character. Like they cut characters in movies and in television shows. Till you get that and you realize it, and you go, oh. And I've done that. I've done that in the past with friends. One friend in particular, but I was very upfront, so I could say that here. But I was very upfront. This person would live this thing over and over. I would know that it was a relationship. He would run the story of this relationship over and over. He'd get into the same kinds of relationships, then I'd have to hear about it. So finally, there was one day, here he comes now again. Now he's going into the same kind of relationship pattern. And I said, look, all right, I'm going to tell you this. You go ahead and you have that relationship. You live that. Do not call me. I did.
Because I know how it's going to end.
Yeah. When you're done with it, and you really realize what you've done and you're over it, then you can call me and then we can talk. And I was ever so clear. And he just goes, okay. And so it ran its short course, as it usually does. And then eventually he calls. And he's like, I know you don't want to hear it, but yeah, you're right. That's what happened. Okay, moving right along. I don't need for you to repeat it again. Another thing real quickly is that I get a lot of people that have said on this journey that they either get very lonely, there's not a lot of people that they can talk to, or either that or they have people around them, but then I keep talking to them and then they're getting upset, they're not understanding what I'm saying. Well, here's what I say. I would rather have like hardly anybody to talk to than to deal with that. I don't want to debate you. I don't want to be in a banter. Those are choices. This is what I'm saying. These are choices that we have to make. What is the payoff if you continue to do this? You keep getting irritated, but you keep doing it. Do you do it because you get to have that supposed friendship? It's the exchange that you still get to have? Is there a fear that if you don't go along with this, you're going to be alone? You're going to be by yourself? It's all these little questions that become really big things in how we run our lives. And they sabotage us. You cannot, the people that talk about relationships and they want to meet this ideal person. And I'm always like, you know what?
There's no such thing.
Yeah, but the kind of image that they've got, I'm like, well, first of all, even if that person exists, that person might not want to be with you currently as you are. Not saying it's good or bad. But maybe that idea that you've got of this person would not mesh with who you are right now.
Bingo, right.
Yeah. So you need to look at that. You need to see that. And I think when people start to see that, you let go the idea of trying to find this ideal person. more than anything else, it's a feeling. What do I want to feel like in a relationship? I think that's all it boils down to. How do I want to feel? Do I want to feel like, wow, I'm coming home to this person, the door is open, I'm always happy to see this person? It's feeling. It's what I feel. Not all this other stuff that's fed to us on TV and movies.
We Disneyfied the whole relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
We've Disneyfied our personal relationships to the point where also when someone, if they're in a relationship and someone stumbles or does something that is not so ideal, that we judge them and then we hold it over them, power, because it's power, right? And instead of if you love that person, instead of coming from a loving place, we become adversarial too. We say, my ego, your ego type thing. And the idea is that, and I think it was this it was a family therapist who said this, and I thought it was actually quite clever. And I think it was Dr. Stan Tatkin, who said that in regards to relationships, that anybody that you're in a relationship, at one point, they're going to be a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. And then he said, but guess what?
You are too.
You are too.
That's right.
And when you realize that, then you go, oh, we're both going to be pains in the asses to each other.
Absolutely.
It's how much love is there
between
the two. And if you truly do love someone, you also know, like, it gets to a point too where you're not going to have somebody abuse you, obviously.
Right.
You're not going to don't put up with that. But I love the idea of when you are in relationship with somebody, instead of, again, being on the outside or seeking that love from an outside source, is another mirror to you. Because when you are in a relationship with somebody, they're your mirror.
Right.
I mean, they're going to show you quite quickly.
Mm-hmm. You're going to learn a lot about yourself.
Like.
If you allow it, though. If you allow it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. But we like conflict. This is a war-based planet. So it's all about conflict. It's all about opposition and tug of war. And that goes across the board. It's like, excuse me, in a way, it's like wired into us. And so I think sometimes people don't know what to do when there is no conflict, when there's no issues going on in there. The other thing with relationships that I learned for myself is that you need to come to the table really more as whole as possible, because I know we have this thing, I need somebody that completes me, but I think it's just too much responsibility on one person. There's too many expectations on that person. I think the more whole we can come into a relationship, the more whole that relationship is, because your every happiness is not contingent on this person.
Nope.
There's just all this pressure on this person to make you happy. And that's why I think it's so important that when we've gone through pain, like relationship pain, heartache, that we give ourselves time to process that. I don't care if it's a couple of years. Allow yourself to process that. Otherwise, you just take all that stuff with you again into the next situation. So I think that these are things that we really need to look at. It would make lives, and another thing that I learned about relationships, because those are like the biggie for everybody, is my thing is, in a relationship, when you look at, okay, the person leaves the cover off the toothpaste, they they don't like wash the dishes, you hate
toilet seats up,
putting stuff, I hate that. Don't leave anything in the sink, don't leave a fork. If there's nothing in there, don't leave a fork in there. All right, so it's like we have all these things, and to me, you start looking at all the things that you nitpick, we complain about, and if you can step back and close your eyes and picture your life without this person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to me, that's a real test. Okay, if I close my eyes and I picture my life without this person, oh no, I really do. I feel the love. And then it supersedes all the nitpicky stuff. Then you go, okay, now you reach this compromise. This is how this person is. This is what they do. They leave the cover off the toothpaste. I get that. Can I accept this? Can I accept the fact that they will not wash the dishes? Can I accept that? Once you come to that place of, okay, I love this person more than this is an issue to me.
Boom.
yeah,
Boom.
Then
You nailed it on the head.
yeah, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
So that was something that I ended up having to learn. So by the time, you get around to really cementing the thing, I already figured, okay, well, I've had 10 years to figure. I've dealt with this. Okay, I love you more than this matters.
Well, and also the things that originally attract us to other people in the beginning are sometimes the things that later we use against them. I love your free, independent. Right?
Yeah, but now I really hate it. Now I really hate it. And it's the totality. It's everything about the person. And I've said this over and over even to my own kids. It's everything about that person that we complain about that makes up that person.
Yes.
That it's all of that you love. Like you just said, even though you don't realize it, you love all of these things about that person because that's what makes up this individual, this character that you've got there.
And it's the same. It's unconditional love. It's like the love you have for your child. Mm-hmm. Your child could be like a real pain in the butt, but do you love him any less? Do you? No, you love them because it's there. It's just there. But it's interesting when it's someone that is in a romantic relationship. We're so much more critical of them. We're gonna step off now and what is it in the Matrix? Is it the blue pill they take? Does it blue pill Neo takes?
Red pill
or the red one?
I think it's the blue.
I think it's the blue
pill.
Well, for our conversation, it's going to be the blue pill. We're going to take the blue pill, so to speak. We're going to go a little deeper. We're going to go a little further down the rabbit hole, so to speak, because I know you and I like to hang out there sometimes. We have long conversations about it. Something that you're researching and you have been looking at for quite some time, and it's come across my desk as well, and it has not, I believe, it's not been discussed publicly very much. It's not the topic of conversation. We tend to want to talk more about, Kardashians and Trump and, all that other stuff.
Oh, come on, Christine.
AI technology, artificial intelligence. Now, when just the term artificial intelligence, people are like, what? Can you talk about what you're getting into right now and the discoveries that you're finding about this real quick mad rush, although they've been doing it for I think some time, developing this artificial intelligence?
Yes, this is not new at all. This has been going on for a long time. I remember maybe 8 years ago, I really started to bring this up when I was doing my radio show back then, Sovereign Mind Radio at the time. And so I was looking at this and I kept saying, you people need to look. See, even the vodka commercial, it was a robot on the truck. It was this gradual introduction of this idea to people, but because everything is such a gradual process, people don't really pay attention. Oh, it's just robots. I mean, this has been
Terminator.
Yeah, right? It's been going on from what is it? Danger, Will Robinson. What was the name of that again?
Lost in Space.
Lost in Space. Okay, so
ding ding ding.
For 200.
Exactly.
But it's been going on for a very, very long time. Small Wonder. All of these things have been the Jetsons with Rosie.
Yes.
So I'm just showing people that this is how these things are introduced to us. Now, moving forward, I remember I watched a video some time ago, and it was called the Immortality Conference. And this conference had scientists. These were real scientists. What was the discussion? The discussion was, should we begin to create laws for rights for robots? So this was like some time ago. They had been thinking about that because the fact was that they said that robots were going to be living alongside us as another species. And so this was like in the making. The fact that this was coming up several years ago meant that they had already established This system was already
right. Whenever they start talking about, should we one day do this? It means that there's a whole colony of them already.
A whole colony waiting, to get their passports or whatever. But the fact is that this is what was going on. Now we're closer. Now we are here. We are in this stage now where this is what's happening. And I think a lot of people also need to understand with, Siri, with all of these, technologies, our phones, there are all many robots, our GPS. These are all subtle introductions, the self-driving vehicle, all of that is an introduction to a way of life that is unfolding. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm just saying this is what's coming. This is the step up in technology. These things, or these artificial intelligence then are in a learning stage. They're learning. And what they do is, and what they've been doing over the years, they have been allowing them to learn from us. And that's what's happening, even with Facebook.
Should they not be learning from us? Because you said earlier we were on the planet of war.
Well, hey, that's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But that's what they do. I mean, even Siri. I was listening to something the other day, and even Siri, they were talking about the fact that, they asked Siri for a particular word, and she couldn't find it. And the reason why she had a hard time with this particular name, it was because of the accent. And the more people that would ask, that's what they said, the more people that begin to ask her with different kinds of accents and sounds and tones, she begins to store that information in her memory bank. And this is how they begin to, for lack of a better word, evolve, is through storing an unbelievable amount of data, an unbelievable amount of information that eventually allows them to process in a way almost like we can with solving problems and so on. And that was one of the things that they said was difficult, is getting them to solve problems like we do. We are like they said we are master problem solvers. And so that was something that the new system, these robots are going to have to learn how to do. We think that they're solving problems. Yes, they're solving problems based on a storage of data, storage of information, but so are we. We are solving problems based on a lot of references to, past experiences, not just as an individual, but the collective human experience.
Correct.
Yeah, we are solving problems. So they're doing the same thing. Now, I guess the question is, will they at some point do what we do and they try to take over? This is the fear. This is what everybody has kind of talked about. Will that possibly happen? All the movies, where they suddenly take over, because everything eventually wants to live. And so the question these scientists were asking also is, what creates a sentient being? What is it that defines a sentient being? What is consciousness? And this is where we are with the robots and human beings.
See, and when you said that, when you asked that question, like everything within me, all my cells and everything, they're like, they bursted out and they said, the soul expression. Because I mean, and this is my belief that we walk around with bones and skin and blood and whatever, hair, and we're animated and we're able to use our mind and think and feel with our etheric heart. But once we expire, pass to the next level, whatever, our soul leaves the body. So that's when I was listening to that, because with an artificial intelligence being, I see all of the mountains of data, and they would have the ability to to grab a pen and to write, even to know
mimic
what to do,
our behavior, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the only thing that I think that would be missing Unless they figured that out in the lab.
Well, see, that's the thing.
Did they do
is,
that?
well, no,
Sonia, don't tell me that.
No, this is part of what I'm This is part of what I'm going to be talking about in this workshop that I'm going to be doing, because I think that human beings are afraid, and I've said that for years. We're afraid that we're not going to be what we thought we were. And I think this is the challenge. I am not afraid of it because I want to see so I can be ahead. I can be a step ahead. So I don't have time to hang out in fear of it, but to look. And one of the things that I've been sharing with people, if we stop and we begin to examine this technology, you can learn so much about your own design, because everything is being duplicated and mimicked off of a bigger system and a bigger system. A bigger system outside of this, which I'm not jumping ahead, but I'm just going to throw this in, but even the idea of a corporation or business is generally what? A pyramidal structure. You've got people at the bottom and you've got an apex, you've got people at the top. There is this pyramidal or hierarchical system that exists, that we've taken that model from someplace else. So what my point is that we have to understand that we're using, to some degree, one formula to do a whole lot of things. We just don't realize it. And we are a level of technology, and we have to even redefine what that word means. Who is we? I'm not going to get too deep and crazy here, but I think these are things that we have to understand, because we've identified ourselves as our bodies. So when we say we and I, it's like, who are you talking about? And so that's what I try to get people to get to, that place of who is I, which I, because there's the automated I, because we're very robotic, we're very automated, and we operate off of what? Old programs and information. We refer back to things that happened to us, and then we make choices and decisions based on that, and we also predict our future. We make choices and come up with scenarios based on that old information. Jumping forward a little bit, which is why it becomes necessary for us to create new neural pathways, why it's necessary for us to always learn new things. We must keep creating new neural pathways. Otherwise, what you have is you have this limited amount of information, even though it's a lot of information, but we're talking these things coming on the planet now. You need to be, your mind, your brain needs to be superseding that technology. Does that all make sense?
Yes, that's why I said earlier that my synapses have expanded.
Yes, it is, Lucy. Lucy number 2.
How many chips in that bag? Okay. I'm gonna hit you up with a couple of quick things, and then I want your response to it. Flu shot. Have you gotten one? Are you getting one?
No. I'm looking at you. She looked at me like,
girl, what are you talking about? You know me. I know you.
I'd sooner eat a dog biscuit.
Dog biscuits can be good. As a child, I know. Yes, I had a dog biscuit as a child. I wanted to know what it tasted like.
You and my son.
Well, my dog liked it so much. I was like, this got to be good.
Yeah, my son
tastes
did the
like
same
crap.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, no, flu shot. Okay, but
no, I don't.
Millions of people are. They always, especially they really target the elderly, because they're like, oh, we'll give you a free flu shot. You go to like Rite Aid or whatever. They're like, we'll give you a free flu shot.
Oh, they'll be giving them at a gas station soon.
But just for our listeners who are not aware of these things, please just inform them about your reasons why you wouldn't be getting it.
Well, first of all, there's too much stuff in there. There's too many unidentifiable things inside the flu shot. And everybody I know that has had the flu shot, they all get sick, like deathly ill. And they were fine before. And then the doctors always go, oh, no, it's not. And I think that, okay, so it's the flu. Okay, I get it. The flu is awful. But what do you do in the beginning? You start taking care of yourself and building your immune system. That's it.
Yes. Okay. And this parlays into the next section that because I was going to ask you for some tips and tricks about what you do to boost your immune system to stay healthy, because I know you are actually quite healthy. Do you mind imparting some of that knowledge, some things that you do on a somewhat regular basis to stay as healthy as you can? Or let's say you were leaving a time capsule for people, okay, and you're saying these are some things that I would do and things that I would stay away from in order to maintain the highest vibration, the highest health.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that most people probably have heard this time and time again. One of the things you want to minimize, yes, is your sugar intake. And simply because of the acidity and the yeast and the acid environment that it creates, which becomes this breeding ground for all kinds of things. And
apparently parasites
love it.
Sugar.
Well, they are the ones that also make you want the sugar because they're so intelligent.
I didn't know this until just a couple months ago. Like they
take over.
Know when you got cookies in the cupboard.
Oh yeah, they take over because they take over, and that's what they do. They're like, this is
artificial intelligence.
There you
there.
go. But this is the thing I try to say to people. You've got to understand your body is a universe, right? It's a universe. Every tiny cell is a universe unto itself. Everything wants to live. Oh. Everything wants to survive. This is it's simple. Everything wants to survive. Every bacteria, everything. It's all about existing, surviving. Cancer cells, those robots, that's what they're going to do. They're going to want to survive, right? So they're going to adapt that from us, that idea of survival, because human beings are all about survival. That is our core thing, is surviving at all costs. No matter what, we'll survive. So is to understand this, that your body's a universe and there's all kinds of stuff that's living in there. Some of it is completely essential to the ecosystem of the inside of your body. Now, the question is, how much of this particular thing do you have in there? And the environment that you create for these particular things, we're talking about like parasites, to live in, that you don't want that. So it's learning that with the sugar and the flour. I'm not saying to cut everything, you never do anything, but you've got to do things in moderation. And first of all, if you are already not in great health, you've definitely got to go almost like, in a way, cold turkey. You've got to get your body back to a workable state first before you're in a position to incorporate things in there, fun foods in there. You've got to get yourself back to some sort of balance first. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. And then the immune system, the more the immune system is destroyed, that's ultimately it. Your lymphatic system, getting all the gunk out of there. Your cells, it's going to affect the oxygen go in your cells, which means that it must be affecting the blood flow, because circulation, the blood carries the oxygen. It's this whole chain reaction that happens in this thing, and it's like a machine. It is a machine, a biological machine, and so it's got this entire system that is functioning on. And so ultimately, yes, you've got to keep that up. Now, for women in particular, it's said that we actually should be eating no less than a pound of salad every day.
What?
A pound of salad every day. And
a pound?
A pound of salad every day. We would not...
That's a lot of salad, because salad's very light.
Yeah, if you're going to be... This turns to water. But the thing is that it's what we're getting out of it, and with us, with our hormones and all of that. The other thing, the reason why greens become so important and so huge is because we're doing what? We're eating trapped sunlight. Very important. That is ultimately the fuel, right? We put gas in our cars, and the sunlight has it's energy, it's fuel for our bodies. But since our bodies are designed in a way where we can only absorb only so much of the sunlight through our skin, nature found a way to put it in the plants, and that's why they're green. It's the chlorophyll. So it's the trapped sunlight that does that. And so when we eat that, we're actually eating trapped sunlight. We're eating sunlight. That's the energy. That's the charge. And I think if people understand it more, a lot of people that when I used to teach lymphology, when they understood that, people had a different take on, okay, I get it. I'm eating this. I see the fuel that I'm going to get from this. And if you're eating like that, it gives you room to eat other things every now and then. You can do that because you're feeding your body what it needs. But if you're just feeding your body all that other stuff, but you're not giving it the fuel that it needs, which is the trapped sunlight, that energy, then there's nothing for it to work with. It can't work properly. It's like your car running on like hardly any oil. Eventually, that engine's gonna blow. You're gonna have some issues there. So it's a matter of really changing the way we look. And then, of course, you can do some supplements, which is that's another interesting one in terms of what you might want to do.
What do you take? What do you do?
I don't do as much as I used to, but I like Ayurvedic stuff. So I like Triphala, which is good for your digestive system and the whole system. And also something to carry around in your purse, activated charcoal.
What is that? What does that do?
Activated charcoal, that's what they give people when they go to the hospital and you take poison. Activated charcoal is good, like if you're having anything going on with your system. As a matter of fact, World Health Organization even say if you have nothing else when you travel, carry activated charcoal, because the charcoal draws out poison. Like, so if you have, say for example, you ate something and your stomach's not feeling great, you're feeling whatever, bloated, or you're just not feeling good, so Pepto-Bismol, take some activated charcoal and it pulls whatever it is, it pulls the poison out.
Do you do it like
fast.
As a pill or as
it's in capsule? The charcoal is in there in these capsules, and you can get it in any health food store. And you can just take 2, depending on what your situation is. You can take them for even several days. Some people take them all the time. Just take them or several days or so, and then it does move things out of your system. And Shativira, I want to make
Shativira.
sure. Shativira, that's another Ayurvedic.
I love the
thing.
names of
Shativira.
Ayurvedic stuff.
And it means, I think, nine husbands, I think it means. I think so. But it's
nine husbands
means that you're going to be strong. You can handle 9 husbands. But for women and for men. But for women, it really, really helps with our whole system, our entire reproductive system, and our hormones. It's actually considered a food as opposed to just an herb. So that's something that I suggest people look into. It's Shativir.
Do you take probiotics?
I don't take them as much as I used to, and I tell you the reason why. And no, I'm not vegan, but I do make bone broth.
I love bone broth.
I make bone broth and I cook it for 3 days.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
What kind of bones?
Grass-fed beef, and I will, depending on what we have, I'll collect it, put it in the freezer, and it's nice if you can have a variety. If somebody does seafood, for example, if somebody, you buy lobster or something like that, I would say save the shells, because you have to remember it's millions of years of formation that form those shells. And so when you're cooking these things for that long, it's actually pulling out those minerals out of the bones and the shell, which is, that's really what's happening, which is what you need. So yes, bone broth, when done the right way, done that long, is a higher probiotic than anything else.
Really?
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It'll supersede any other.
I knew that it was good for your skin and your hair and your own bones,
your gut,
and your gut.
Big time. Your gut, big time. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. That's
bone broth, people.
Yeah.
You had me at bone broth.
Yeah, 3 days. I cook it for 3 days, and then you bottle. Then not bottle it, but I put it. Then you put it in the freezer. Put little
Yeah,
packages.
mason jar or something like that.
Yeah. Or if you're gonna freeze it, if you make that much, like I usually do, then I put it in little packages and put it in the freezer so that I can pull out.
Oh, then you can just warm it up.
Yeah, because if you're cooking it for 3 days, you're gonna cook enough. You need to make sure you do like a big old.
And your house smells funny.
Oh, it smells like I've killed someone. It's like, don't invite any company over for the next 3 days.
We only have a couple minutes left, and I wanted to give that time to you to talk about things that you're working on that you want to let our listeners know about, and whatever's kind of coming up to you, for you that you wanted to express to the Out of the Box radio listenership. But what are you working on that you can tell us about?
Well, I want to say that I have a workshop actually coming up on December 2nd, and it's going to be a webinar. I was thinking about doing it locally, but right now it's going to be a webinar, and it's called AI, Technology, and Human Evolution. And I tell you, yes, you won't want to miss this, because I am going to go into some things that have been happening, that have happened, and I don't think that people are aware of where we're going. We talked about it a little bit today, but yeah, that's coming up on December 2nd, and they can go to therealsoniabarrett.com to my website and click on events, workshops and events. The other thing that I do is I do a Reality Wednesdays, which is the first Wednesday of every month. It's free. I do an hour-long free teleconference, and we talk about I cover all kinds of topics on that. And again, you can go to therealsoniabarrett.com and sign up for that free teleconference. And what else is there? Anything else that I'm doing? Oh, I better let your audience know. I am actually going to be in Costa Rica in March at a place called Rhythmia Life and Advancement Center, and I'm there for 7 days, doing a workshop for 7 days. And
this is going to be your own workshop, or are you taking part of it?
Well, I was invited to do this.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I was invited, and I can't remember the name of the workshop. It's decoding.
Can they find out can they get the information at your website?
Yes, it's on my website. Yes, you can see it on the website. But it's going to be very, very interesting. We're going to be doing some decoding the language of your existence is the name of it. And so I'm going to be going into the whole idea of decoding. I'm really wanting to get people to see the technology of themselves and start to basically hack and decode yourself, because the system does it. That's why they know so much about you and how to run us and regulate us and affect people's minds and so on and so forth, because nobody's home.
Well, and they know. We've given them so much data on ourselves, and willingly. I think, what was it that I saw this the other day was oh my goodness, it was a thing of like, oh my goodness, we don't want them spying on us. And then the next thing was a woman speaking into that echo thing, and saying, like, hello NSA, can I have a recipe for cookies? People
are so
we've
oblivious.
welcomed it into our homes, right? And it hears everything.
I know exactly. There's so much. There's ears everywhere.
And smart television.
Oh,
you don't need a smart TV, folks, because it's listening to you every single word.
That's right.
All those romantic little evenings you have in front of that television.
Oh, yeah. You better unplug all that stuff. We have nothing.
Put a curtain over it.
Yeah.
Watching it.
So even in your bedroom, we don't have any electric stuff in our bedroom. We don't have TVs or anything that.
Have you ever done this? This is awesome. I've done it a couple times. Mm-hmm. And it's just because I forget sometimes, but I've done this a couple times, and it is the best sleep I've ever had. Mm-hmm. I go to the power box, your control panel, mm-hmm. where all the electricity, and I just go boom, 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 and I turn all my electricity off in my house.
Wow.
The refrigerator, it's still going to be cold in the morning.
Right,
I mean, it's it's at night.
Right.
But when you shut off everything, all of the electricity, we are in a cage.
Oh yeah, basically.
We sleep at night in a cage, and even if you turn off all the lights and stuff, you still have electricity going around you from all of the different outlets. Right? And then in the walls.
Don't have one over your bed, I tell you that much.
And I'll tell you, it's the most peaceful feeling.
I'm sure.
Well, it's like when you go out in the mountains, you know, you go far, far away underneath the tree or whatever. You have the energy of the tree, of course, but it's because you have no wires around you.
Right. You're not inundated with
and it's
that electricity.
Beautiful sleep.
Oh, yeah. And if they're not doing that, then they need to go, you need to go to nature. That was something I wanted to say is I'm an avid hiker. I love nature. So you've got to get the negative ions. You have to balance yourself out. And if you can't go to nature and you're in front of a computer and stuff all the time, you need to at least go outside. If you have some grass, get your shoes off and rub your feet in the grass to get rid of the buildup of the static electricity, because that's what happens for our cars and our computers and our cell phones. It's a buildup of static electricity, which then affects your cells. Yeah, it affects the oxygen
and our heartbeat. We are electric beings.
Exactly, and that runs literal interference with the whole system, this whole electromagnetic system.
I'm gonna go to the mountains now.
Yeah, but people should though, instead.
It's so important.
Well, we think that buildings are like really normal, and they're not. Every group that's come onto the planet was born outside. Yeah. We started out outside.
Yeah.
We gradually devolved into the buildings.
Right.
But we come from outside. We eat with our hands. So we live a life of what we call being civilized. And I'm not saying I don't love it, but I think we have to bring back balance. Stop talking on your cell phone if you go walking or hiking and all of that. Why are you on your cell phones? Yeah. It's putting away these things for a while. You have to have a moment where your mind and your body is not bombarded. And even if you can only walk on the beach, walk on the beach. You've got to connect with nature, because that's where you're from. You are part of nature. You're not part of the building like this. Right. And that's something that people need to remember, that we live in these things, and our bodies are the ones that are really kind of suffering. And there's not enough copper. Throw that into. That's the other thing, because we don't have copper around us anymore, not like that. But we got some copper cups recently as well, because you want to get copper cups that's 100% copper on the inside as well as on the outside, not with nickel lined or any other lining. Ayurvedic, once again. You put water in it and you drink it in the morning and in the evening, but 6 to 8 hours is how long the water needs to sit in these copper cups to get enough of the copper into the water. Mm-hmm. It leaks into the water, and so that you can get more copper. And the copper is essential for melanin, for your skin, for elasticity. It's everything on the planet. Everything needs a certain amount of copper.
You just threw that a little tip in there, didn't you?
Yeah, I just had to throw that in.
For more tips and information about my guests, you can go to therealsoniabarrett.com, and that's spelled, it's the real, and SoniaBarrett.com. Again, therealsoniabarrett.com. Find out about her AI technology webinar that's going to be coming up, and also the retreat that she has in Costa Rica coming up, and so many other things. Sonia, I want to thank you again for joining me. I've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time, and I know we just scratched the surface because there's a lot more. This is like the beginning 101 version of us, right?
It's fun. I know. Yeah.
Can you come? Will you come back?
Sure, absolutely. Okay. This was fun. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And then let me know when you have anything that's coming up and you want to let people know. We'll get you back on.
I certainly will.
All right. And I want to thank you, listeners, for tuning in this week. I want to remind you to subscribe to this podcast. If you want to make sure you don't miss a show, you can subscribe to it on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Or better yet, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then you can easily share programs like this in your social media and emails, and you can send it out and people can take a listen. And until next week, I want to remind you to always, always think outside of the box. Bye for now.